Robert Smith has shared the surprising story behind his collaboration with the Rolling Stones, revealing that his first reaction was to decline the opportunity to perform on the band's upcoming album. The Cure frontman admitted that he never expected to become part of the recording sessions and initially felt completely unprepared when Mick Jagger unexpectedly invited him to contribute. The collaboration appears on the Rolling Stones' highly anticipated 25th studio album, Foreign Tongues, scheduled for release on July 10th. Smith eventually contributed guitar to the track Divine Intervention, while also adding synthesizer textures and backing vocals to Never Wanna Lose You. Although his performances became an important part of the finished record, the journey toward those recordings unfolded in a way that neither he nor the band had planned. Smith explained the story during an appearance on the official Rolling Stones podcast, where he reflected on how his long-distance friendship with producer Andrew Watt eventually led him into one of the world's most famous recording studios. For several years, Smith and Watt had stayed in touch through phone conversations and online exchanges. Despite maintaining regular contact, they had never actually met in person. Their schedules repeatedly prevented them from finding the right opportunity to spend time together whenever Watt visited London with various recording projects.
That situation changed last year when Watt contacted Smith while working on the Rolling Stones' next album. By that stage, the majority of the recording sessions had already been completed. Most instrumental parts were finished, leaving Mick Jagger to complete some remaining vocal recordings.
Watt suggested that Smith visit the studio, enjoy a drink together, and finally meet after years of talking remotely. The invitation sounded casual, and Smith viewed it as nothing more than an opportunity to spend an evening with the producer and perhaps observe one of the world's greatest rock bands at work. The recording sessions were taking place at Metropolis Studios in London, one of Britain's best-known recording facilities. Before Smith arrived, Watt mentioned that Jagger might still be in the building finishing vocals. Even then, Smith had no expectation of becoming involved in the album itself. Instead, Smith felt cautious about interrupting the creative atmosphere inside the studio. Having spent decades recording music with The Cure, he understood how delicate studio sessions could become, particularly when a singer was recording vocals. He believed unexpected visitors could easily disrupt concentration and interfere with the creative process. Rather than walking directly into the control room, Smith decided he would simply wait in the studio bar until the session ended. From his perspective, allowing the band to finish their work peacefully seemed like the most respectful approach. Everything changed when one of the studio assistants informed him that Mick Jagger was happy for him to come downstairs. Smith entered the control room expecting a brief greeting. Instead, he found himself watching Jagger actively recording vocals through the studio glass. Seeing one of rock music's greatest performers working so closely came as a complete surprise. After the recording paused, Jagger welcomed Smith warmly. The atmosphere immediately became relaxed, and the two musicians began talking comfortably, despite never having met before. As the evening continued, Jagger played several songs from the upcoming album and invited Smith to share his opinions. The conversation gradually became more informal, while the guests enjoyed refreshments, creating a relaxed environment where ideas flowed naturally. Smith later joked that as the evening progressed, his musical suggestions probably became increasingly ambitious. Nevertheless, Jagger continued encouraging the discussion and seemed genuinely interested in hearing another respected musician's perspective on the developing album. Then came the unexpected moment that completely changed the evening. Without warning, Jagger asked Smith whether he would like to perform on the album. The invitation immediately caught Smith off guard. Jagger suggested that he might play some guitar on one of the songs, but Smith admitted he had not mentally prepared for such a request. He had arrived expecting nothing more than conversation, drinks, and perhaps the chance to hear some new Rolling Stones music. Performing on the record itself had never crossed his mind. To the surprise of everyone in the room, Smith politely declined. He later admitted that everyone appeared shocked by his response. Rather than feeling nervous about working alongside one of rock's greatest bands, he simply believed he was not ready. Walking into such an important recording session without preparation felt uncomfortable, especially when the material belonged to a legendary group with decades of history behind them. Smith preferred to avoid making spontaneous creative decisions under that kind of pressure. Eventually, Jagger left the studio while Smith remained with Andrew Watt.
As the evening continued, the atmosphere became less formal. Without the pressure of the unexpected invitation, Smith gradually became more comfortable. After some time passed, he reconsidered his earlier decision. He eventually told Watt that perhaps they should plug in a guitar and see what happened. That simple decision became the turning point.
Smith began experimenting with several songs, playing ideas naturally without overthinking the situation. One musical idea led to another, and before long, he found himself contributing to recordings that would ultimately appear on the finished album. What started as an evening planned around casual conversation transformed into a genuine creative collaboration between two of Britain's most influential rock acts. Andrew Watt later confirmed that the collaboration developed almost entirely by chance. Since the album was already close to completion, he believed inviting Smith to add something unique would provide an exciting final touch.
Besides guitar on Divine Intervention, Smith also recorded backing vocals and synthesizer parts for Never Wanna Lose You, adding another distinctive musical layer to the album's diverse sound. Mick Jagger also reflected on the unusual circumstances that brought Smith into the project. He remembered noticing a man standing inside the studio wearing a long coat before realizing it was Robert Smith. The Cure singer's unmistakable appearance, complete with dramatic lipstick and signature style, immediately caught his attention. Once the introductions were complete, Jagger simply suggested that if Smith was already visiting the studio, he might as well contribute something to the album. For Jagger, collaborations sometimes develop through careful planning, but occasionally they happen through spontaneous moments that nobody could have predicted. The story highlights the relaxed creative environment Andrew Watt encouraged throughout the recording process. Rather than forcing collaborations through elaborate arrangements, many guest appearances evolved naturally through conversations and shared musical curiosity. Foreign Tongues promises to become one of the Rolling Stones' most varied albums in recent years. The record already includes the previously released songs Rough and Twisted, In the Stars, and Jealous Lover. The album also features the band's interpretation of Amy Winehouse's classic You Know I'm No Good, demonstrating the group's willingness to reinterpret influential songs while maintaining their own identity. Fans will also hear performances from the late drummer Charlie Watts, ensuring his musical legacy continues on another Rolling Stones release. His appearance adds emotional significance to the album and connects the band's future with its remarkable history.
During promotional events in New York, the group discussed the wide range of musical styles featured throughout the album. Among the songs generating early interest is the country-inspired track Ringing Hollow, further illustrating the band's continued desire to explore different musical directions after more than 6 decades together. Jagger has also confirmed that his songwriting has already continued beyond the completion of Foreign Tongues. He revealed that he is actively writing new material, although not every composition is necessarily intended for the Rolling Stones.
Some songs may eventually find homes with other artists if he believes they better suit different performers or musical styles. That flexible approach reflects Jagger's continuing enthusiasm for songwriting, even after decades at the top of rock music. While the Rolling Stones prepare for another major album release, The Cure remain equally busy. The band is currently touring across the United Kingdom and Europe before moving on to major outdoor concerts in Manchester and Edinburgh next month. Smith's unexpected appearance on Foreign Tongues demonstrates how some of music's most memorable collaborations happen without careful planning. A simple invitation to meet a producer for a drink unexpectedly evolved into a recording session that united two of Britain's most celebrated rock bands. His initial hesitation ultimately gave way to creative curiosity, allowing fans to hear a collaboration that almost never happened and adding another fascinating chapter to the long histories of both The Cure and the Rolling Stones.